Hey guys, if you're enjoying the content that I'm making, please click that subscribe button. Also remember to click that bell button and make sure to tick that box to send all notifications so you don't miss out on any videos. With that in mind, let's get on with the video. What's up guys, welcome to Munchkins Gaming, where we take your gaming to the next level. This is Munchkins logging in to bring you another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video. And in this video, we're gonna be concentrating on the new character event for Kefka, the level 80 EX fight for Vagaries of a Fractured Heart. First of all, welcome back for me, back in YouTube, back in Australia, back at home, so now I can do these videos for you guys. And I'm glad to be back. I'm still a little bit sick, if you guys can't tell. I'm still coughing quite a lot, and but don't worry, I'll be editing those coughing out. So yeah, basically this is my first video back, guys, and I hope that a lot of you have stayed. And I did notice that my subscriber count didn't actually drop, being hiatus for like 3-4 weeks. So thank you guys for staying with me, and without further ado, let's start with this video. And starting off this video is definitely going through the Skull Wizard's abilities, weaknesses, and resistances. First of all, it doesn't have any weaknesses, and it has a resistance to dark type attacks. Its abilities include the Dark Awakening, which is a Dark Brave magic attack, which also grants itself a defense up. Life Cut, which is a melee HP attack, and then it has Brazenly It Smirks, which means it will use Candle in the Wind next turn. Candle in the Wind is a melee HP attack after changing its own Brave based on its attack. Next up, he has the Arcane Fingertips, which grants himself a max Brave up. It is a dark melee Brave attack after increasing its Brave based on its attack, and this also has a low turn rate. Next up is the group Dark Craw, which is a group Dark Brave magic attack. Next up, it has the Soul Sucking Scriptures, which is a group Brave magic attack and increases its Brave based on the damage dealt. This also grants itself a Brave regen and an HP regen. And finally, it has Darkness Falls, which grants itself a defense up, attack up, and speed up as its buffs. And the last one, which I normally forget, is its resistances. Now, the Skull Wizard actually has a low resistance to the debuff Attack Down and Blind, which I find kind of funny because one of the debuffs that you need to apply to it is Blind, which is suggested by the game itself, but whatever, huh? Next is the general tips and guides. So my first tip for you guys is to save about 90% of your abilities on the boss. So try to save up all those abilities so you have something to break it, and of course do a lot of damage. And next up is obviously to bring in the boosted characters. Now, the boosted characters for this event is obviously Kefka and Tifa and Bartz as well. Now, for the other characters that you may want to bring that are not boosted characters, we just received the Awakened characters, the first set, so you have a choice from all of those characters. But the ones that I want to highlight are obviously Terra and Cloud. I also want to mention Ishtola there as well because of her stone, which can delay the boss, and obviously her Medica too as well. And Furion, of course, is another one of those characters that I want to highlight in there as well. And other characters are obviously Sephiroth. He's still pretty good and a very strong DPS. Faris is there if you have her 35 CP, which can delete basically all debuffs for the boss and apply the debuff as well. Tidus as another one of those characters that can debuff the boss, which can push off some of the buffs. Waka is there as well. I did put Waka in there because of application of blind, and so is Vaughn. And of course, the God Saz is also always welcome in any team, and of course any healer as well. As for support, any good DPS will do. Terra is probably the best choice in my opinion, and as for the summon, I feel like Ifrit would be the best choice. Brothers can work as well if you are finding yourself maxing out in Brave. Next up is you will need at least 5,760 HP to survive Candle of Wind, and this is with the Skull Wizard broken initially. Now I haven't really seen the Skull Wizard actually use Candle of Wind with its when it has its own Brave, you know, if it's not broken. So I'm not entirely sure if it will get more than 5,760 Brave when it has a little bit more. So I would suggest to you guys to keep the boss broken, of course, when you know it's about to use Candle of Wind. And we all know when it's going to use it, when it basically says brazenly it smirks. Next up is, this is for the mission. This tip is for the mission, which is basically if you missed out on the 3k HP damage or less mission, you can just retry it with a healer, especially if you are basically running this with a team that are full of DPS and you don't have any other way to heal. Now the other a strategy that I used was to actually switch out the when I see it says brazenly it smirks, I basically switched out to my support character. However, it still counts as a damage even though that support dies or takes the damage. It still counts it as HP damage in the fight, so you won't be able to get that mission even if you switch it and your support takes the damage for you. So there's that too. The all attack will mean that he will most likely use the soul sucking scriptures. Now it does have the grip Darkra as well, but most likely it will use soul sucking scriptures, which means he will have a very high Brave at the end of it. So make sure you have abilities in order for you to break it. And now let's take a look at the new section for my videos, which are the possible party compositions. The first one, and again guys, these are only suggestions. This is not an NOBL party composition. For the first one that I would suggest is to obviously have the boosted character team, which are Kefka, Tifa, and Bartz. This is in combination with Asaz, Terra, or Sephiroth support, plus an Ifrit summon. Now obviously the biggest con here is you're obviously gonna have to pull for Kefka's weapons, although just with the 15 CP weapon is probably the most important one that Kefka needs to have, because this is the one that gives an extra turn for his debuffs, which are blind and the no HP attack debuff, which is quite unique for Kefka. Now obviously Tifa and Bartz are the boosted characters, but they are replaceable. Kefka is probably the main choice if you are gonna go for a boosted character team. However, like I said, this is only one of the first ones that I would suggest, and this fight is definitely achievable without any of the boosted characters. You may have to retry the fight with a healer if you didn't get the 3k HP or less mission, but it is quite doable and it's easy to actually get the high score required, which I do believe it's like 35k, but don't quote me on that. The next team that I would suggest is the Terra Saz Lina composition, and as you guys will see, the video you're seeing now is actually just about to finish, and the next one is actually the team that I used in order to get the 3k HP or less damage. Lina is obviously there for the HP regen or the healing, and Saz is, I know you guys probably say you're still using Saz, but I feel like he's still pretty good even with the new awakened characters that we are having, and I mainly use him to buff up Lina anyway. He is quite replaceable in this team, and I do believe King can actually do a good job here as well, since he will be doing a lot more HP damage. Now this is done with a Terra support as well. Now obviously the con for this is if you don't have Saz 35 CP, you won't be able to use this team, but like I said, Saz is quite replaceable here. But you can probably use King if you have King, or you can use a different DPS. The only ones that I would not change here is Terra, because she's probably one of the best DPS that we currently have in global. Lina is obviously replaceable by other healers, but the good thing about Lina is that she has that initial brave or max brave down debuffs, and that's probably why I used her instead of Aiko or any other ones as well. But they obviously can be replaced and can be used in replacement of Lina. The next team that I have for you guys is Terra, Cloud, and Furion, and this is done with a Quistis support, although Quistis can be replaced by Terra here as well. The main idea of this team is to actually do a lot of damage as much as you can. Now you do need a bit of luck when it comes to this team, and what I mean by this is there is no way for you to stop Candle of Wind, and the only character that can probably survive and heal through in this particular team is Furion. So if the Skull Wizard is obviously targeting another character, then in most likely scenario is that you won't be able to stop Candle of Wind. But the idea here is to kill it before it hits you. So for the most part, I would just restart. If he targets the first Candle of Wind is not targeting Furion, and you can just restart until he targets Furion for Candle of Wind. And when you see the second Candle of Wind about to hit, that's the time when you actually use your summon and you try to delay as much as you can. And obviously you have Quistis and Cloud in order for you to push her back, and obviously paralyzing it will do wonders as well. So this team needs a bit of luck, but it is quite possible to do it. So for the next team I have for you guys is Edge, Terra, and Sephiroth with a Terra support. Now I haven't tried this, but seeing that Candle of Wind is a melee HP attack, Edge can use his Provoke in order for you to actually dodge Candle of Wind. Now obviously Edge is replaceable, which brings me to the last possible party composition that I have suggested for you guys, which is the tank, DPS, and healer, which basically is the triad basically. And if you just bring a tank, you can heal it with a healer, and the DPS can do its job, and this is done with a Terra support as well. I feel like this is quite self-explanatory, so I'll leave it as that. Obviously the Ifrit summon is something that you want because you're going to be lacking on the DPS department. But overall, these are my possible party compositions for you guys. So what are my final thoughts for this fight? Well, I feel like I said earlier, that this is it's a lot easier to get the max high score that you need in order for you to get all the rewards in the events tab. However, the main issue here is to actually getting one of the missions, which is the 3k or less HP damage. Now I did suggest for you guys to actually just retry it with a healer once you get the high score that you need, and you shouldn't have any other problems. But obviously if you want to do it in one go, you just have to bring a healer with you, unfortunately, because Candle of Wind will actually, at least in my case, it happened like 3 times, and for the most part, I think you can get away with it happening like twice if you really have good DPS. But if you're going to be a little bit more careful, then you probably will see it 3 times. And obviously you need that HP. I would suggest just having about 6k HP for your characters, because if you don't, you're going to have to restart, because if that character gets targeted, for example, if you have Sephiroth, which he has a very low HP, then in the most likely scenario he will die. And other than that, I don't think I missed anything else. Oh, there is one thing that I sort of slipped in during my party composition section, and that is to actually use your summon when it's about to use Candle of Wind, especially if it's targeting someone that you know that it will die, and this someone would have to be someone who has less than 6k HP. I think 5.8 is where you're about safe. So if you do have a character like that, it's probably best to use your summon around that time. If it's targeting someone who has above 6k HP, they should be safe and you don't need to use your summon straight away. However, if you are lacking in the score department, you do have to use your summon a little bit earlier. And I think that's about all I can think of, really. So I guess this is a good section to end this video. Remember to click like, subscribe, and share this video if you find it helpful at all. As always, I'd like to hear from you guys what you think of this fight. Are you struggling with it? And of course, which team did you use in order to get the high score? I'm really excited to hear from you guys after being away for about a month, and I hope you guys forgive me for being in hiatus for that long. One other thing before I do go is I will be in night shift for the next 2 weeks. However, I believe I can get out the videos in time for any events that are coming. Anyway, this is Munchkin logging off, and I'll see you guys in the next level.